Madden DocuSeries. I am Shane, got you 11. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button so you're notified for future tips and content. Plus, I have a weekly podcast with Trey every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time called the West Coast Podcast. So join us then. Let's get into this DocuSeries episode 4. It is What is your wish list for Madden 21? Now that Madden 20 has completely wrapped up for the majority of us, there will still be some people playing it, but for the most of the people out there, Madden 20 is put back on the shelf to never be opened again. And while I thought that Madden 20 had a lot of good qualities, they also had some qualities that were kind of ruined with the patch and made the gameplay a little bit iffy. If you're on the competitive scene, you know definitely what I'm talking about. If you did weekend league, you definitely know what I'm talking about. And probably if you're on the top ranks on head to head, you will know what I'm talking about. Everybody spam 3-4 defense and the 1-4-6. Now, the 3-4 defense was easily stopped at the start of the year when on pinch protection you could make pinch. So on the pass protection, on the pass protection you could make it pinch, and then you just ID one of the blitzers and slide protect towards the max heavy side of the wide receivers, which I put on my channel earlier in the year, and they'd pick up 3-4, and you could dot them easily. You wouldn't have to max protect. All you'd have to do is go to pass protection, pinch, and then slide protect towards the heavy side where you had the most wide receivers, and then ID one guy, and you'd be good. Well, unfortunately, during that time, Madden did a patch, EA Madden did a patch, and they took away the option to pinch protect. So then the 3-4 came in all the time, and it screamed way easier, and it was way harder to pick up. Eventually, a few of the top players, the 1%ers, realized how to pick up the 3-4 blitz, but they still use it against each other because it's really hard to beat. And then if you're in a passing play, for sure, if you're in trips or bunch or any shotgun, they're coming out in the 1-4-6, and that made it really hard to attack for the general Madden players. And then once you realized how to attack the 1-4-6, EA did another patch where there was I don't want to say it was a glitch. Basically, they dumbed out your running back, that if you don't switch up to your running back after doing all the protection things you're supposed to do against 1-4-6, you have to switch up to the running back before you hike, or the running back will dumb out no matter what you do, and the cornerback will come through and sack your QB. So a lot of the patches messed up the game this year. Usually, I feel like last year they helped the game. Like at the start of the year when the contain glitch in Madden 19 was really big, I felt like the patch helped it and it cleaned it up. And people were upset, but it helped clean it up. This year, a couple of the patches made it harder on people and made it harder for the game. And in Madden 20, you basically saw this. On offense, it was I-form stretch, I-form dive. Then it went to strong close at the end of the year. And that's basically what you saw for the whole year. For the first time in a long time that I can remember, the community did not switch up like they normally do during the year. Like usually they switch up to 3 or 4 defenses throughout the year. I mean, they all copy each other, but they all switch up throughout the year, like 1 or 2 times every 3 months on offense and defense. And then this year, it really was 2 to 3 offenses the whole year and 2 defenses the whole year. Or 2 to 3 defenses the whole year. You had 3-4, you could say, well, 3-4 bear and 3-4 odd. And then you had 1-4-6. And then on offense, you have single back, strong close, and I-form, but it was mainly I-form and strong close. Now, people that are doing last chance qualifier, it's kind of switched up. Now, it's still the run game, but a lot of the people have the abilities that I'm going to talk about later on in this DocuSeries episode 4, that they rely on QB escape, QB fast break, and then all these post flag abilities on their wide receiver, corner routes on their wide receivers, and such. So in this episode 4 of the Madden DocuSeries created by Shanghai211, I'm going to delve a little bit deeper. I'm going to break it down a little bit more. Here is what I liked about Madden 20. Madden 20, I enjoyed how the game felt running-wise, how you could run, and it felt really crisp. I do think they made it way too easy for the mass public because a lot of the times, every year, most years, people can't run the ball. They don't see the gap right. But Madden 18 and then this year, it was easier to run the ball, but I like the feel of it. I like the flow of it. I liked how the defense, you could set up the defense, and they played their zones a little bit better on pass defense, I felt. The purples still need to get better, but overall, the passing defense was better. I've heard a lot of pros say it's too hard. So, I mean, I feel like it was perfect pass defense. I mean, I enjoyed it except the purples. The purples need to play better. What I also liked is that the run blocking mattered. If you have a good run block offensive line, they will block way better for you. They'll get to the second level for you. Those were the main things that I liked about Madden 20. I mean, so it wasn't a lot. Like, at the start of the year, I honestly thought it was going to be the best game ever created by Madden. I mean, I thought Madden 20 was going to be the greatest game ever. I mean, I enjoyed everything about it. People try to run the 3-4 meta on me, and because I could pinch protect, I would expose the community defense. Then the patches changed the game, and it got silly. It got silly, and now you got tight ends as wide receivers knocking down cornerbacks. So to me, this game ended up not being one of my favorites. I still did probably the best I could in the tournaments. It was one of my better years, so it seems silly that I'm complaining about one of my better years that I wasn't fond of this game, but just overall it was okay. It was average to me. It could have been a lot better. What I didn't like about Madden 20 is probably the same thing I'm going to complain about every year. And basically what I tell my subscribers, I even tell myself at times, you just got to do better. You got to learn. You got to adapt. But I hate seeing the same defense over and over. 3-4 defense or 1-4-6. Rinse and repeat. I can't stand watching the same defenses over and over. They should make it where eventually, if you do pass protect the right way, it should be consistently. It should consistently block then, if you do it the right way. It shouldn't just dumb out one time, and then the next time you have all day. It should be consistent. The other thing that I didn't like was I felt like when people switch up and click off, I think that your players should miss. So, for example, like let's say you bring in Jamal Adams and you have Enforcer on him, and you run in with him and you click off and let the computer try to hit stick your opponent. I think he should fall down. It sounds silly, but I think he should fall down because to me that's not top skill. That's like handing the gun off in Call of Duty to the computer to make the snipe. It is equivalent of that. I would never see a pro Call of Duty player or a pro, even if you do 2K, click off and allow the computer to play for you. Now, maybe in 2K, I mean, I can see it click off on defense, so I should scrap the 2K, but a Call of Duty or a Halo player or a Fortnite or an Apex player, can you imagine them clicking off and letting the computer shoot your opponent and your elite player? I think that's dumb. I don't have a problem with the computer making tackles. Don't get me wrong. I'm strictly talking about when they run at you and then click off and let the computer tackle you. I think they should fall down. I think it should be about skill. If you're a user in that player, you shouldn't be able to click off and allow the computer to tackle you so easily. So that was one of my main issues of that. That's number 2 on my list. My number 1 complaint is abilities. And I know a lot of people are going to have problems with it, but abilities to me were the biggest no-go for me. Just how they were set up. Did they have cool... Could they have been, like, amazing? Yeah, I liked how they thought. I liked that they thought that, you know, abilities would be so groundbreaking. But for me, it lessened the skill gap. It made it where the skill gap was closer together than ever. And I know people know what I'm talking about when, like, you're facing a 99 Lamar with Escape Artist going against 98 Tyreek Hill, 98 Calvin Johnson with abilities, and they just burn your computer, and then they run around and throw it up with dashing Deadeye. That's not really skill to me. I mean, you guys could think it's skill, some of you, but it's not skill at all. It really isn't. Anybody could do that. That's why a lot of the pros say weekend leads is really, really, really bad, to play. My funnest mode to play was actually Draft Champs Season 2, where I qualified for the online tournament because there wasn't any abilities, and so many pros even enjoyed it without abilities. And it's funny that some of the pros couldn't even make the MUT Draft online part. Some of them that were so good in salary cap clubs, they weren't able to make it in MUT Draft, but they're back up there on Last Chance Qualifier. Why? Because of abilities. It's not how you set the team up, because everybody basically sets up the team anyways the same way. It's the abilities. But anyway, so let's move past Madden 20. Madden 20, like I said, was It was to me. It was a C. It was an average game. Could have been way better if they didn't touch it this year. And lots of times I am for them fixing the game. Trust me, I am for them fixing the game, like the scum kicks, the contain glitches, the air truck, like in Madden 18. I usually like them patching the game, but when they took away the pass protection pinch, it made 3-4 so powerful that people could sit in it. Or 1-4-6. I have people now in 1-4-6 stopping power runs because their players are so OP. But let's move on to Madden 21. What is your wish list? What do you want to see? Do you like abilities? Do you want the abilities to be more powerful? Do you like the abilities where they are? Do you like it when you can sit in one or two defenses? I mean, I might be in the minority, and that's okay. And in this DocuSeries, I'm asking you, what is your wish list for Madden 21? Do you like abilities? Do you like that there's only minimum defenses you have to learn how to beat? Same with offenses. Or do you wish that the game was overall more realistic? A few weeks ago, they did house rules where they made it where you could only run a certain play a certain amount of times and could only pick that play a certain amount of times. So you had a max amount that you could run that play and run that formation. So they are trying to figure out if it'd make the game better. They wanted people to respawn and let them know what they thought. Did they like how the house rules were? And then so it's on us to tell them what we really think. And unfortunately, I think the mass people will like the game where it's one or two defenses and one or two offenses for most of the year. I think it makes it easier for them. I think it's harder to adapt for a lot of people. If they made the game like they were trying to on house rules, where you could only pick a certain amount of plays from this formation, you could only run this blitz a certain amount of times, you can only run this passing play a certain amount of times, because they realize that the game dumbs out. People are going to be like, well, you should stop it. I've been on Twitter. I've seen people talk about it. You need to learn to stop it. But the main issue is pros are running the same defense against other pros, so they can't stop it really either. Yes, they adapt. So on the 1-4-6, instead of sending everybody, sometimes they'll drop people. Sometimes they'll man up people. Sometimes they'll zone and man up people. But the main point is that defense still gives the pros trouble, but it's easy to set up. You come out in 1-4-6, and you click, 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 you press, you pinch, you spread line, you crash out, you contain, you blitz all the linebackers if you want one time. you zone up, whatever, you still are playing the same kind of defense. And you hope for mistakes. Well, to me, it's like, I'd kind of like the game more realistic. So my wish list is that I'd like the game more realistic. You have to pick more plays. However they figure out, if they can make it work, it'd be great. Another thing is I'd like them to bring back the pass protection pinch. So you can pinch the line so people who just crash it through the middle and do the 3-4 blitz, it won't work as well. I like a game where you have to adjust and adapt. So they should give everything to your controller. So if I want to pinch protect, there should be an ability to pinch protect. They shouldn't have taken that away. The double team is great, but maybe put the double team on R2 or on a different button. But I like the slide left, slide right, max protect. But they need to make pinch protect too. They need to have that come back. And the abilities, I like the thought process of the abilities, but they need to fix it. They need to tone it down. And then another main thing for me is, especially since I'm more into doing the salary cap now, trying to make the tournaments, I feel like they should make the game more realistic. So if you have, let's say it's a passing Madden next year instead of a running, and it will be a passing Madden next year because they always switch it. Like Madden 19 was a passing game, Madden 18 was a run game, Madden 17 was passing, Madden 16 was run, and it just goes back and forth. So Madden 21 will be a passing game, but here's what I think. I believe that next year they'll have a passing game, and pro players and community players will come out with one defense, and it'll be a blitzing play. They will set up their defense line kind of crappy to save cap, and then they'll have like blitzing linebackers and cornerbacks. Well, I feel like if I spend money on the offensive line, it should matter. So if my mid-90 offensive line are going against 70 and 70 and 70 defensive ends and defensive tackles, and then there's the linebackers at the second level that are mid-90s, I should consistently make it to the second level because that makes a huge difference in the game. There's no way that a Shaquille Griffin or Shaquem Griffin, the linebacker for the Seahawks. I'm saying his wrong name, but the linebacker for the Seahawks, and he's playing on the defensive end, and you're going against a Walter Jones who's a Hall of Famer. He'd knock him down every time, and then he'd get to the second level. So I feel like if they're gonna make, I feel like they need to make the offensive lines matter. If you spend a bunch of cap on your offensive line and you're going against crappy defensive lines, but just top linebackers and safeties, you should be able to run the ball on them for 5 to 6 yards consistently. That's my main thing. Even more so than abilities and one or two defenses, because like I told people, you have to be better. Even myself, you have to be better. So my main wish list for Madden 21 is as follows. Number one, make the offensive line matter. The offensive line should matter. So if I'm in my mid-90s, offensive line, and I'm going against the defensive ends and defensive tackles that are in their 70s, my offensive line should smoke them. They should knock them down, knock them backwards, and get to the second level, which is the linebackers, and then get to the third level, which is the safeties. Because next year will be a passing game, so I already know the community is going to set up their defensive ends and defensive tackles as bad so they can put a bunch of cap on the linebackers and cornerbacks and safeties. But if I spend a bunch of money on the offensive line, it should matter in the run game. Number two, tone down the abilities. Number three, click off. Actually, number three is abilities. Number two is click off. Clicking off, you should get punished. I want to see the top players have a user. But that's what I feel. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. This is episode 4, Madden 21 wish list. Like I said, what I'd like to see in Madden 21 is the offensive line matters, no more clicking off, abilities toned down. Those are my main three, even more so than the community offense and defense. This is Madden DocuSeries episode 4. What is your Madden 21 wish list? Shane got you 11.